Instead of trying to get the people to come to you, going to where the people are. Maybe there's a cultural center or something like that, a gym where people might be showing up for silver sneakers activities, where the people are already going to be there and you're just kind of popping yourself into that location.
Good morning, insurance agents of the senior market. Welcome back to Near and Far. It is Friday, April 1st. No April Fool's jokes today, but you know what? How do you know for sure? If you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel and enable those notifications, we might be playing that April Fool's joke on you, but you won't know unless you're notified. Additionally, if there's anything that Rob and I talk about on today's video you want to learn more about, you want to work with us on, make sure to email us at nf_studios@neishloss.com. So, Rob, we spent a lot of time on the show recently talking about all sorts of lead generation techniques, like direct mail, Facebook, strategic partnerships, you name it, and all of them are a really viable part of an agent's plan to build their book of business. But there's one that we haven't really talked about for a while recently, and that's been educational events.
Oh, absolutely. Prior to COVID, was one of the biggest ways that agents generated clients, hosting educational events.
Yeah, and that was something that we used to see when we look at production reports. Yep. It's like, okay, who are the agents that sold the most in February? Who are the most that sold in April, in June? And most of the time, it was those folks who were doing educational events. So why don't we do this? Let's dive into a couple keys for agents who are out there thinking about doing educational events, but more importantly, want to do them successfully.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. So the first item that Rob and I want to talk about is, to use a real estate term, location, location, location. So this is really a key element of any Medicare 101 meeting. First and foremost, is it an accessible location?
Right.
Like, things to consider, like, what's the traffic like? What's the parking situation? How easy is it to get in and out of the facility?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because parking has always been, I've talked to agents before really, really focused on educational events. They said if you don't have a parking lot or an easily accessible parking spot, those folks are just going to drive right by.
Yeah, and you know what? That's just as important even when we're doing agent events.
Yes.
That used to be Tom Fleming's thing, where he would say to Jill and I when we were planning like a big meeting, either in Pittsburgh or someone else, what's the deal with parking?
Yeah.
Like that was always Tom's role, was he was the parking person. But the other thing too is you really got to think about cost.
Right.
Like beyond, like, ease of entry, I think, is number one. But the second thing with location is, what's the cost going to be? Because you don't need to do it at a 5-star hotel.
Right. There are a lot of places that are available that might have a really, really low cost, like a library room or something like that. Or no cost at all. I know like a lot of like church organizations, things like that will offer up that space really just to help those folks. And considering it's an educational style event, you're not dealing with, they don't feel as obliged. They'll definitely help you out in getting those spaces for no cost.
Yeah, I'd agree. Libraries are a great place to do them. Another great one is like Panera Bread, or like that type of place where, like, I'm not sure, like, is Panera Bread all over the country, but it seems like everywhere I go there's a Panera now.
Always.
But they have those meeting rooms in almost every one of their locations, and if you buy a little bit of coffee, maybe a Danish or two, they'll be like, yeah, you can have the room. Right. But that's the thing, like, there are so many agents who I know, when I've been engaged with talking to them about an educational event strategy, they start looking at, okay, I need to go to the Crown Plaza. I need the Ruby, meeting room, and they're looking at costs of like over $1,000 a meeting, and they're thinking it's cost prohibitive, and that, I think, is just the wrong approach.
Right, and there are a lot of non-traditional routes you can take as well. I mean, if you go to instead of trying to get the people to come to you, going to where the people are. Maybe there's a cultural center or something like that, a gym where people might be showing up for silver sneakers activities, where the people are already going to be there and you're just kind of popping yourself into that location.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great point. So the second key for agents who are thinking about educational events is learning how to market smart. Because if you can have a great location, like you can literally have the greatest location in the history of sales locations, but it doesn't matter if you can't get people there.
Right. And a lot of agents are going to focus just kind of exclusively on that direct mail piece that they're sending out with the advertisement. But there's a lot more that goes into it than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like in terms of driving people to an event, like direct mail is really good, but I think sometimes agents like really hyper focus on one piece of the demographic panel. And what I mean when I say that is it's like, okay, I want people who are 64 and 3 months to 64 and 9 months. The end. Like that's the pool that I'm hitting. And a couple of the most successful agents who've gotten back into doing educational events during first quarter have said to me that they are mailing that panel. Okay. Right. They're also mailing people, like, you know how, based upon what your date of birth is or the year that you're born, when do you get full Social Security?
Right.
And I think right now with people, I think full Social Security is at like 66 and 9 months and slowly going to 67 and 68. But hitting folks that are right on the verge of getting full Social Security is a totally under-mailed panel.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're going to turn up a lot of folks who are currently employed and waiting to hit that marker to retire, at which point they can get on Medicare and, you can help them out.
Yeah. And the other thought, I'm interested in your feedback on this. One of our agents had talked to me about using their existing clients to drive attendance, either inviting them to come and bring a friend, either messaging them on Facebook and saying, hey, do you have any friends that are approaching 65? I'd like to help them too. What type of feedback do you get from agents on that?
I mean, the bring a friend piece works really well because when we're hosting an educational event, really the purpose of it, you can't sell a Medicare plan at the educational event. So really, what are you selling? You're selling yourself as the expert. Yeah. And if you're being thorough with your clients, I think you can really get them to drive other folks into that event to bring them with you, and it's a perfect opportunity. That type of referral is going to go much further than just just the invite card that they got.
Yeah, absolutely. Like calling your existing members is one thing to try to drive that attendance. If you're connected to them on Facebook, I know you guys are tired of it. I wonder, do our agents think I'm sponsored by Zuckerberg? like is he funding me because I feel like I say Facebook all the time? It's because it's working for people.
Right.
That's why we keep talking about it. But being able to use Facebook in terms of posts or using Messenger to, if you've connected with your existing clients, which you should be doing, to connect with them is actually super time efficient in terms of trying to drive additional traffic to your event.
Another piece of that too is really having your entire schedule booked. If you're meeting at, if you have a specific day and time that you're going to be meeting, maybe it's, first Tuesday of every quarter at the library here. Having that laid out on Facebook, you can see all of those different engagement opportunities there that, someone might, I can't make it to this one, but I see you're having one next Tuesday. Okay, let's get to that. So gives you some second chance at some of those folks.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So the last thing, if you're an agent thinking about doing educational events, Rob, I want to give these agents some game day tips. So think about this way. Agent has the event booked. They've marketed, and it is game day, like day of the event. What do you think separates the strong meetings from the ones that end up turning out to be weak?
First off is going to be appearance. The room needs to look put together. So whenever you're booking events, it's always good to know, what time you can get into the room and start utilizing it so you're not setting stuff up while people are getting there. You can have a nice clean look. You don't want to have papers everywhere, even though you might have a lot of information to give out. Yep. Want it to look clean, pretty tight.
Yeah, well, I think you made a couple points there that are super good that I want to talk about. The first is, when can you get in the room?
Yes.
Because we just had an agent event as part of our Medicare Rock Tour. Mm-hmm. So if you would like to know if we're coming to a city near you, check out our website. But we couldn't get into the room until 30 minutes before the event. And we were hosting, I think that we had 30 or 35 agents who came to the meeting in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. It was like a mad dash. I mean, it was panic where we're swinging around and we're trying to move tables and chairs. It's, where are we going to put this? Oh my God, listen to the air conditioning unit. It is so loud, like no one's going to hear. Like it is those day of the event type things that no matter how prepared you are, like you got to be in there with enough time to be able to pivot and be flexible.
And additionally, too, if you can get in there before the day of the event to check out some of those things, air conditioner sound, maybe there's a beam of light that's coming into the room, it's going to be blasting you in the face, something like that. Those are good things to be prepared for. Also, you want to make sure that you have any swag, details that you have, can really dress up the room with some of those pieces. And you're really allowed to use branded pieces as long as they don't have product details on them. So, stick to the guidelines and you can still look pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I think you make a good point about the materials. I think sometimes with that, less is more.
Right.
Because and when I try to put myself into the shoes of the person approaching Medicare, who's the person that shows up at that meeting? They are someone who probably has tried to look into this on their own. And they've been on Google. They're hitting United Healthcare's website. They're on Medicare.gov. There are different places. And they're just saying to themselves, holy God, I cannot possibly make heads or tails out of all of this information. And what they need is interpretation.
Right.
But if they show up and there's 27 papers at their seat, they're going to be like, man, this sucks. Like, I just, like, this is, I feel worse now than when I showed up here. Like, they're looking for, like, maybe 1 or 2 pages that helps them have a greater clarity around what they're trying to do. And then the communication from the agent then says to them, oh, I understand better now. I want to work with this person.
Right. Right. You just want to kind of give them a guide on next steps. That's usually what to do next, and then let the agent be the guide and make that connection. Because once you're connected, you're going to help them, throughout the rest of their time.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. Well, hey, thanks for jumping on with me this morning. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we will be back with you on Monday, April 4th, bright and early at 7 a.m. This has been Rob. I'm Bill. This has been Near and Far. We'll see you on Monday.